All right, hello everybody. We're at Amy Nexus Day 2 of 2026, and I'm here with a face you might be aware of. You may have also recognized him from last Nexus. This is Eric Franca, the Director of Conformity Assessment Program in Standards Division at CDRH.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Yeah, I got my little note here.
Yeah, more or less. There's more.
There's more.
There's more. There's
Take
more
a look
letters.
at that.
My name tag has all the letters on it, as you can tell.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so this is mostly because the program that you're part of is kind of integral to a lot of different corners of the regulatory process. Does that sound about fair?
Sure, I'd say so. Yeah, we are focused. So the ASCA program is part of the Conformity Assessment Program in the Division of Standards and Conformity Assessment in the Office of Readiness and Response. Yeah, there's more. But yeah, we're focused on trying to streamline part of that pre-market submission practice to reduce burden for, selfishly, our review staff, but also for manufacturers, and kind of trying to deliver the safest medical devices to the market as quickly as we're able to do.
And for the most part, this is a program that is designed for testing labs, basically an accreditation to say, we are testing in the way that the FDA likes. Does that sound fair?
So yeah, the program is built off international framework of quality standards for laboratories and accreditation bodies, where we kind of leverage that to say, we are confident in what this laboratory does and the way they report their results, such that we can accept only what we need to know in a streamlined fashion in a pre-market submission. So then we kind of review tens of pages versus hundreds of pages of documentation, which can help and reduce the risk of the potential of getting a deficiency. There should be fewer deficiencies just because we have less to read,
less confusion, less time, possibly faster to market, which is, I'm sure, what most manufacturers want to hear and be part of. So, and granted, ASCA is a well-known name at this point. Everybody seems to be on board with it and getting on. But interestingly, while we're here at Nexus, there are new topics coming up that are plugged into that. So I guess first I'll ask you, before we dive into the big elephant in the room, I wanted to talk about, is there anything while you've been at this conference, do you have questions coming to you or ideas coming your way where you're going, that is interesting?
So being in charge of the ASCA program is kind of fun because people have ideas for what they prefer us to do. So yes, include this, include sterility, include mechanical testing, include wheelchairs, include all kinds of things to try to make the regulatory process a little bit smoother or less rocky. So we are entering an era since we last talked where there's more uncertainty or an anxiety for a variety of topics, including the elephant you're about to get to. But in addition to that, since our last Nexus appearance, there's been a lot of CDRH communication about testing labs, in particular, specifically biocompatibility labs, where there have been instances where some labs have lesser quality, or to take it even a step further, leveraging fraudulent practices to generate results. So part of where ASCA is kind of not exactly involved in this process because it is something that's ongoing in the center. But we are observing this and making sure that all of the stakeholders that we now have a connection to, accreditation bodies, testing laboratories, making sure everybody's seeing this happen and is aware. So making sure that everyone's on the same page. We want high quality results and we don't want more anxiety.
I'm sure everybody can agree to that. But you mentioned biocompatibility, so I want to clarify there. Are we talking about materials compatibility, say for sterilization processes, or are we talking about drugs and devices, combination products?
So these primarily it's device driven, so it's good laboratory practice instances. So I think last Nexus was, I think maybe that week, CDRH sent a letter to industry on this topic, which was interesting because at the time we were getting questions at Nexus and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. But since then, there have been additional warning letters going to testing laboratories, which was new for the center and interesting to track. So there's more going on in that space.
Can you give me an example of one of those warnings? What exactly?
There's 2 that came out and have gone to an additional step, which is mid-link testing, and then a company called SDWH, both located in China, where I believe we published letters detailing why they were not to be trusted. And effectively, the center saying we won't accept testing data from these organizations in support of pre-market submissions. So that's something that's happening, and that's another elephant in kind of the collective room we're all standing in conformity assessment. So as part of the ASCA program, one of our perks is that we do pre-vet the laboratories before they get into the program, and we do monitor what they do. So if we find out about something, they're no longer in the program.
Right.
And we are also able to shield the program from letting in laboratories that maybe have lower quality output than we would expect. Sure.
Now, tomorrow, you're going to be talking about a topic that I actually had not thought about when we were thinking about ASCA, which is the utilization of AI in the testing space. And that's the big question there is how, right? Where is AI actually getting into the mix of this? Is it helping ASCA? Is it helping the testing labs, or is it helping somebody else?
So there's a lot in that. And I think for ASCA, we're not at a place where we're adding AI into the program to streamline pre-market. And AI and pre-market, just in terms of devices that we're starting to see, is still a new hot area, and obviously pretty much everywhere in society right now.
I think there's a lot of questions of how do you test AI?
Right. But across total product life cycle, how can AI be leveraged appropriately to support conformity assessment of devices? And that's a question that we'll be discussing in that panel session that we're having tomorrow. And if you're coming, please join in. But also it's something where we want to ask the audience, all of our attendees. I know there are test labs here. I know there's manufacturers and regulatory professionals here. I want to know how everybody's using it and what worries they have and what successes or failures they've had as well. But I think this is a space that it's really interesting, and I think there's a lot of interesting questions associated with not just standards development and how that feeds into conformity assessment, but also how manufacturers leverage it to support their, the quality system that they operate to, as we kind of heard yesterday at the conference, the discussion between the panelists on AI.
It is interesting to me because the last time we spoke, we were exploring what the might-be's of the evolution of the ASCA program. And one of the things that was brought up quite a lot was cybersecurity. Now we're looking at AI, similar, but it's I think a very different discussion. So is cybersecurity still on the radar?
So it's always on the radar. Not to say it's included in the program now, but there are discussions to be had there.
Okay.
Software introduces a unique conformity assessment aspect in that it iterates so frequently. And the standards don't exactly fit perfectly into how the program's structured now.
Yeah.
So we do have draft updates to our guidance documents, which published since we last spoke. That was 2 years ago now. But we are moving those draft guidance documents forward to go draft to final. So there will be, we've gotten plenty of comments.
Okay, they were open
We've
for
gotten plenty of modifications to make based on those comments. And those should be coming final. And when those do publish, we'll be talking a lot about it. And it will impact how we're able to add to the program in the future. Beautiful. We are aiming to make that as streamlined as possible.
Of course, that seems to be the I guess the North Star of the whole program, streamlining. Yeah. Well, Eric, thank you for stopping by to talk a little bit more about this. It's good to catch up and to see the evolution of this exciting program.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.